The Bible Mandela effects. This is part 9 in the series. If you're unfamiliar with Mandela effects, I recommend you watch parts 1 through 8 to become familiar with the concept. We have a lot of verses to do today, so we'll get started and dive into Judges 16:17. Look at this verse and focus on the word Nazarite. So he told her everything. No razor has ever been used on my head, he said, because I have been a Nazarite dedicated to God from my mother's womb. If my head were shaved, my strength would leave me and I would become as weak as any other man. This verse is talking about Samson. And notice the spelling of Nazarite. Okay? And as you continue to look at all these different translations, notice how the word Nazarite is spelled. Nazirite. And then look at the King James Bible. Nazarite. Another spelling of it. So look at the New King James. Nazi seems to be the most common one. But as you continue down, you'll notice that when we get to the Aramaic Bible in plain English, Naza. So just different ways to spell it. Continuing on, I think there was another way of spelling Naza, another in the Douay-Rheims Bible, the French Bible that was done about the same time as the 1611 King James. So we see variations of how to spell it, and in the Good News Translation, it's lowercase. So a lot of variations as far as what's going on. So let's look at the Greek and see if that helps us out. If you look at that verse, all the things that, again, talking about Samson, and spelled Nazarite, Naza. So I looked at the traditional history of the word, and it comes from Nazir, which is a person who's decided to take upon himself a vow to live strict and holy lifestyle, and which is what Samson did. So the word Nazir, Nazir. So you would think that it would be spelled Nazarite with the Nazirite. But the variations of it just seem strange. It's today been accepted that you could spell it either way, but it's just interesting to me that the King James Bible, the original King James Bible, spells it in the alternative way, when if Nazir is the traditional Nazir, where it comes from, then Nazarite, it would make sense. It would be spelled that way. But just a spelling reference, wanted to show that to you. Next, let's look at one I hope everyone knows, Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And that's what I remembered. Heavens is plural. Look at all the translations, it's plural. But then look at the King James. King James Bible, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And when I saw that, I thought it was heavens. Growing up reading the King James Bible, I thought it was plural. And if you scroll down, all of the translations of the Bible say heavens. The Brenton Septuagint translation says heaven. The Douay-Rheims Bible says heaven. So again, variations. Okay, heaven. So seeing that, I just thought it was strange, especially if you compare this verse with Ephesians 4:10. He who descended is the very one who ascended higher than all the heavens. And for the Bible to say all the heavens means there is more than one heaven. So for Genesis 1:1 to be just heaven, that's unusual. So going back to the original Greek, in the beginning God made the heaven and the earth. And when you look at the word for that, oranos, heaven, it could be either way. It could be plural or it could be single. When Jesus talks about the kingdom of heaven, he doesn't use plural, but it's the same word. So just the word itself could be either way, but to be consistent with the verse that we were just looking at out of Ephesians, it should be plural. And again, I remember it being plural. God created the heavens and the earth, but now seeing King James as singular just seems strange to me. All right. So let's go to the next verse. This is Mark 16:14. This is a very interesting one that we have been seeing a lot of these. King Herod heard about this, for Jesus' name had become well known. Some were saying John the Baptist has been raised from the dead, and that is why miraculous powers are at work in him. Looks fine. Look at this verse in the King James Version. And King Herod heard of him, for his name was spread abroad, smiley face emoji, in the King James Bible. Go to any King James Bible, pull it off of the shelf, open it up, and we see an emoji. Now the question is, has it always been there? What has gone on? But it's just strange. But look at the parentheses here. All the other translations, there's no parentheses. It just looks strange to see it that way. So looking at the original in the Greek, and heard the king Herod open, for became his name. And he said that John, the one emerging from the dead, is arisen. Because of this operate the works of power. So it's a very strange wording when you read it straight right out of the Greek. So to come up with the idea of putting the parentheses in there, and with the way it looks emoji, just looks strange, and I don't remember seeing that. So just wanted to show that to you. Again, the question is, has it always been there and no one's noticed it for the last 500 years, 2,000 years? Or has it sort of strangely, supernaturally, the Bible been changed and there it is? That's the question that we have. We don't know why it's happening, but just seeing it there looks strange. So, smiley face emoji in the Bible. And next verse, Isaiah 45:14. Now look at this verse. It's mainly the end of it. This is about Cyrus. God is going to bring his enemies to him. And the enemies, they will bow before you. They will bow down before you and plead with you, saying, surely God is with you, and there is no other God. That is what they will say. This is out of the New International Version. But look at the King James Version, the end of that verse in King James. They shall come over, and they shall fall down unto thee. They shall make supplication unto thee, saying, surely God is in thee, and there is none else. There is no God. So that's unusual to see that. The word other is left out. Now, is that a mistake in the King James? It's strange because all the other translation, there is no other God. That is the concept. There is no other. So let's look at the original Greek and see what it says. And in the original Greek, as we go on down, this is the end of the verse. For among you God is, there is no God besides you. And it's indisputable that it's clearly there is no other God is what it's saying. The word no is negative. There is. Here's the word. Not, there is no. Then the next word that comes after that, God, clear, theos. Okay. Then the next word after that, besides, there is no God besides, plain, except, good translation, and then you. So it's very straightforward how it works out. Here's the word you, ego, okay, I or you. There is no other God than you. So when you look at this verse, it's clear there is no other God. But when you look at it in the King James, there is no God. I do not remember that saying there is no God. I remember it clearly saying there is no other God. So today, just a variety of Mandela effects. Again, as we go through this series, pull down, especially your King James Bible. You see these a lot in the King James Bible. Pull down your King James Bible, follow along, and look at these examples. I just wanted to show them to you, examples of Mandela effects.